Welcome back to Standard 7 Biology class. Now we are moving on to the second chapter of biology, that is Kingdom Classification Part 1. In this chapter, you will learn mainly about classification, classification system and Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification. So the chapter name is Kingdom Classification. So firstly, you have to know what is meant by classification. It is the process of putting the organisms, that is plants and animals, into groups based on their characteristics. What is the need for classifying the organisms? Imagine that you have a box full of different types of buttons. How can you sort out or group these buttons? We can group these buttons based on different criteria, such as based on shape, color, or buttons with 4 holes, buttons with 2 holes, like that. By considering these characters, all the buttons can be classified into different groups. In the same way, consider the vast number of plants and animals in the earth. All these organisms are not alike. They have a pattern of differences and similarities among them. What is the similarity among the plants? They are green and cannot move. But all the animals are mobile, means they have the ability to move. So, if there is a need to study the diverse group of organisms, including the plants and animals, we need to arrange them into different groups. Like the group of buttons are arranged into different groups based on size, color, etc., all the organisms in the earth can also be grouped into different categories based on certain characters. Hence, this process of putting the organisms into groups based on their characters is called classification. Next, let's see what are the advantages of classification. First advantage is classification helps in identifying the organisms and categorize them into different groups. It makes the study of living organisms easier. It also helps to name, remember and easily study about the different organisms. It helps to recognize the relationships among various groups of organisms. It helps to trace the common features between organisms and chart their evolutionary history. It provides information about the plants and animals living in different geographical regions. It helps in understanding how complex organisms must have evolved from simpler ones. It also serves as a base for studying other related sciences such as environmental biology, biogeography, and ecology. For classifying the organisms, there is a need for a classification system. So, a classification system is a framework for grouping the things based on their similarities and dissimilarities. The modern system of biological classification consists of different levels or ranks. This is the representation of different ranks of the biological classification system. So here you can see there are 7 ranks in the biological classification system. The highest rank or the topmost rank of the classification system is kingdom and the lowest rank is the species. The highest rank of classification, kingdom, consists of a group of organisms that share some common features. The lowest level of classification, species, consists of a group of similar organisms that can reproduce among themselves. All the organisms that have been discovered by scientists are classified according to this system, which consists of these 7 ranks. More than 2 million organisms have been discovered, which ranges from tiny bacteria to the largest blue whales. So the 7 ranks of the biological classification system includes kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. The main advantage of classification is that all the organisms can be grouped based on their common characteristics. The science that deals with the classification of organisms is called taxonomy. Many scientists have attempted to classify the organisms. One among them was a Swedish botanist, Carl Linnaeus. The classification proposed by Carl Linnaeus is called two-kingdom classification system. Linnaeus have grouped all the organisms into 2 kingdoms, namely plants and animals. The classification was mainly based on some characters such as presence or absence of cell wall, mode of nutrition, locomotion, and response to stimulus. But this system of classification, which was proposed by Carl Linnaeus, was not widely accepted by the scientific world as it has many drawbacks. Along with classifying the organisms, Linnaeus also introduced a system of naming the organisms. This system of naming the organisms is called binomial nomenclature. All the organisms are named according to the system of binomial nomenclature. In the word binomial, bi means two. So, the organism is assigned two names, that is a generic name and a specific name. For example, according to the binomial nomenclature, human beings is named as Homo sapiens. Here, the first word Homo is the genus name and it begins with a capital letter. The second name is sapiens. It is the species name and it begins with a small letter. Both the names are mostly written in Latin. The scientific names are always printed in italics, and if handwritten, the two names are underlined separately. In this table, you can see some common names and scientific names of some organisms. Human beings' scientific name is Homo sapiens, lion, Panthera leo, mango, Mangifera indica, potato, Solanum tuberosum, Chinese hibiscus, Hibiscus rosa sinensis. So you can see the scientific names of all these organisms has two parts, the genus name and the species name. So you have to mark the table in the textbook and study all the scientific names of the organisms which is given here. With this, we wind up today's class. Thank you and have a nice day.